Greetings, hello everybody. It's your boy SpinoDude back for another casual thing. Actually, no, not another casual thing that we're starting it off. See how casual this is, Hayden. You don't mind me calling you Hayden, do you?
Oh, not at
Is
all.
it?
Go for it.
Okay, so we're here for the first pilot episode of SpinoCast. Very casual kind of talk series. I wanted to establish something on the channel because I want to have like an outlet where I could bring guests on and just kind of casually talk about things, do little interviews, whatever. And I was like, you know, we've been talking for a while now over Facebook Messenger where we're just like, we want to do something together eventually. And I was like, I think this will be a great outlet just to kick things off, sort of get familiar with each other more. So, welcome, Hayden. And also, just in regards to the series for everyone watching, there's not going to be any visual changes on the screen. I'm literally just making a background image. So anyone who wants to just set this off and have a listen, then I think it would be a great little change on the channel, or a new type of content. Whatever. I'm kind of rambling now. That's why I edit my videos. I have a bad habit of rambling. But all right. So these videos are going to be very few and far in between, just kind of as I get ideas or people I want to ask on. So anyway, welcome, Hayden. I'm going to turn it over to you now. So, I thought we'd get started. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell us what got you into dinosaurs and everything? Because I've really enjoyed your review videos. I typically don't watch review videos, but I have to say yours are one of the only ones that I consistently find myself clicking on. I just really enjoy your content and the personality you bring and everything. So, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself here?
Well, thanks, David. First off, thanks for having me. It's great to be able to be involved with this. Yeah, we've been talking for a
Hmm.
while, and it's great to meet, to be able to talk like on a more personal level with fellow dino enthusiasts. I mean, in YouTube, you've got the comment section, and there's the forum and the Facebook groups, but this feels a little more personal, and I think it's a lot of fun to. It's a fun idea, and I'm glad to be involved. And second off, thank you for your kind words about my reviews. Back before I
Hmm.
even started, I think there were like two or three people that I consistently watched reviews for,
Hmm.
and you were one of them. You and Bioniclesaurus and Jurassic Collectibles. Those were like the three big ones. There were a few others that I'd watch every so often, but I remember watching those videos and thinking, what a fun idea to be able to just, film a review for this thing that I have that I enjoy so much. I want to talk about it and share my thoughts with the world and, hopefully convince them to like it as much as I do or, you know,
Hmm.
help them make some sort of collecting decision. So yeah, it means a lot that you're now watching my reviews because, like I said, yeah, you were definitely one of the first YouTubers that caught my eye before I was inspired to do it myself. Um, to answer your question about like what got me into dinosaurs, I mean, I think any kid, you'd have to go back a ways. Anyone
Yeah.
who is still interested in dinosaurs, I think it always starts in childhood. I can't name a single kid that I've met that hasn't been at least somewhat fascinated by dinosaurs, and then just some of them just never grow out of it. And I did. I did. There was a time where I was no longer interested in dinosaurs. I had like a big tote bin full of them from my childhood, but eventually those all got donated. I hate to think what all got lost in those times.
Oh,
Um,
probably some
but
good old like Kenner stuff in there or something, right?
there was one I remember having a Kenner Dimetrodon. I don't
Oh
remember
yeah, yeah.
having like a Demon Carnotaurus or anything like that wound up in, or a
That is
Batcat
like
Diplodocus or something like that wound up in a Goodwill bin. There was a lot of Carnegie stuff. I remember I had like the Carnegie Psittacosaurus, Baryonyx, that
oh yeah.
sort of stuff, because that was the kind of stuff that was in museums. I would go to the museums all the time as a kid. I had grandparents in Denver, Colorado. So
Yeah.
every time I visited them, one thing that we always had to do was go to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And I still
Oh
go
yeah.
there whenever I visit Colorado. I was
That
just
place is
there in
on my bucket
March.
list.
Oh, it's great. The prehistoric journey. I don't know how many times I've gone through that, but every time I love it. So many great mounts in there. And in March they had the Sioux exhibit, which was just awe-inspiring. They have such a
Yeah.
great venue for those traveling exhibits. When you walk in there, it's just such a great layout, such a great setup. Uh,
Mm.
they had like the strange dinosaur exhibit. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that
I
one.
think I do. Yeah,
There,
yeah.
yeah, a couple years ago. That's where I saw my first Carnotaurus mount, which was
Oh, yeah.
awesome. um,
Still have yet to
but
see a
yeah,
Carnotaurus in person, but
oh,
that would be
it
cool.
was great. They had so many great, interesting mounts there. They had Majungasaurus,
Oh,
Tyrannosaurus, Amargasaurus, because it was all about the less orthodox dinosaurs. Of course, we both know them, but like the general public,
yeah.
they'll know a T-Rex, they'll know a Triceratops. Um, so this whole exhibit was about, well, there's so many other cool dinosaurs that you've never heard of. So I was like, oh, it's so great that that was there and I was able to see it. But anyhow, I got a little off track there. That's
Oh
part of
no,
where
that's good.
my dinosaur fascination came from, was from my childhood, and I would always go to the museums. And of course, there were the movies. There was Jurassic Park. There was Disney's Dinosaur, which I think I probably watched more than Jurassic Park. There was
Mm.
Land Before Time, We're
Oh yeah.
Back, A Dinosaur Story, and then of course all the documentaries. I would watch all the documentaries, Big Al, Walking with Dinosaurs, what have you.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
That's my
yeah, yeah,
childhood. Jurassic Park and all the BBC stuff.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's like this growing trend with the Jurassic franchise where it's just like everyone's kind of just sick of the outdated depictions and the monstrous
Hmm.
portrayal of these animals and all that stuff. But actually, I owe everything to Jurassic World. Well, I shouldn't say I
Yes.
owe everything. I can blame everything on Jurassic World because when that movie came out, I saw it opening night. I think I saw it a total of 6 times in theaters. I loved
Mhm.
it. I know it's
Oh
not a
yeah.
great movie, but it was entertaining as all get out. It was so great to see a park finally realized on film.
Hmm.
And when I walked out of that movie, I'm like, dinosaurs are still awesome. Why did I ever
Yeah.
fall out of that? Why did I ever lose fascination, lose interest in this stuff? They are so cool. Um, so I started to slowly get back into collecting after that. I think my first was the Papocarnotaurus.
Oh,
Um,
it's a good classic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just started learning more about the brands, what different brands were out there. Started watching reviews.
Hmm.
Um, Started perusing eBay. That's where I found like all the classic Kenner stuff. I'm like, oh, there were toy lines for these movies. That makes so much sense. How did I track these down? And it was before I was all that interested in accuracy, what was accurate, what isn't. It
Hmm.
was all about what looked good to me, what had the best aesthetics, the best artistry.
I feel that.
Um,
I was in that boat as well when I was younger. Actually, probably right
yeah,
when I started YouTube. That was before I really got involved with the paleontology community. I knew vaguely what an accurate dinosaur was like, but then I was like, no, I prefer aesthetics, and I was mainly just collecting Papo because of that. Now looking back, I'm like, man, some of that Papo stuff is really interesting to say the least compared to what I've learned over the years.
yeah, yeah. And that's like, and it was, I'd watch like reviews of you and Bionicosaurus. Um, Full honesty here, you guys would talk about accuracy, and I would let out a little groan at times. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, who cares? As long as it looks good." Um,
I feel
but
that though. Yep, I feel
yeah,
that.
as the years went by, and I started to like learn more and more about like what is accepted, like what is scientifically accurate in this day and age, I found a fresh appreciation for that niche of dinosaur collecting.
Hmm.
Um, I'm on both sides of the aisle now. I love the Jurassic and the pop culture inspired depictions, but I also appreciate the ever evolving knowledge of these animals and like how they actually appeared. And I applaud companies that are able to capture an accurate representation of that idea. So I think
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
room for both, and I owe my because I owe my fascination to the movies. Um, so for me, yeah, that was my gateway, and because of that, I think I'll always appreciate the movie monsters as much as I do the scientific
Totally.
stuff. Like if you watch
Yeah.
my old videos,
Oh yeah.
you'll notice I have no idea what I'm talking about. I never. I'm like,
Well, if
oh
you see
yeah,
like my first ever reviews, like I'm talking about, I think one of my first reviews was the Raptor, which I don't know if you noticed. I did like my recap review series that I do every so often, where I look back and I'm just watching old terrible videos of mine, and I'm like, my gosh, David, what were you thinking? Like, all right, it's time to justify this. So I sit down and record myself reacting to it. And then I'm like, all right, this is what I actually think of this now. And this is me correcting myself. And I need to refresh myself. But I'm pretty sure in my old Oviraptor review, I was just like, yeah, this is what Oviraptor looks like. And yeah, it stole eggs. That's how it got its name. And I'm like, no, David, it was found on its
yeah,
own nest. David, you.
it was the exact same. I'm like, oh yeah, there it is with it's holding the egg, which makes sense for an oviraptor.
Yeah, yeah.
That you're like, well, no, but that Oviraptor's obviously based off Disney's Dinosaur and
Oh,
like
yeah.
in its aesthetics, and that's like the scene. That opening scene is so mesmerizing when it comes, takes the eggs, and runs off with it.
That's
Even if I
like
don't,
my childhood there, that sequence in
yeah,
the beginning I'd watch on repeat.
because it was like the trailer that like you'd see it even if you weren't watching the movie, like on old Disney VHS tapes, you would see that scene play out.
Hmm.
They knew what they were doing. They were like, "This is the best part of the movie. We're just going to show the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
That'll get people to show up." Um, but yeah, so that was my. It's like, oh yeah, Oviraptor stole eggs because I saw it in Disney's Dinosaur.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and that's
but obviously now I've learned a lot, and I have the movies to thank for that. I have them opening my eyes to reminding me how cool this world once was, and reminding me to learn about it, not just see it through
yeah.
movies.
I'm definitely in the same exact boat pretty much cuz my main influence for dinosaurs it was Jurassic Park and well I saw some dinosaur related stuff when I was very young and I was like, "Oh, T-Rex is my favorite." And I just knew what like T-Rex Triceratops was and I was 2, 3 years old. Just as much as any young male toddler would know like you said earlier. And I felt like it was my parents were like, "Oh, it's probably going to be this phase thing because everyone goes through this." But my mom just showed me the clip of the Spinosaurus fighting the T-Rex from Jurassic Park because the Jurassic Park 3 when it came out when I was younger, and I was like, "What is that thing?" It's like a huge bipedal crocodile with a fin on its back, and I would ask her questions constantly, and she'd have to Google things for me and everything, and that was my window into just like being utterly mesmerized with dinosaurs as a whole outside of pop culture. Because then she'd start getting me books and she got me walking with dinosaurs. And I'm like, there's so much more to this than just T Rex and Triceratops and all of the fan favorites. And I still treasure Jurassic Park to this day. And I'm in this weird gray area with it because you hear the leaks with Jurassic World Dominion coming out and the introduction where they are
Yeah,
stepping in the right direction, or they're like, "Oh, but we put feathers on things," but they didn't put feathers on things correctly, and they're mixing matching Gigas with T-Rexes and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of stuck in between. I understand why people are upset, but at the same time, I'm like, there are some things that are pushing it towards the right direction here, and I'm still happy just to see dinosaurs in the mainstream media for kids because that's what got me where I am today. And I
baby
think
steps, baby
baby
steps.
steps, exactly.
2014 there was a big stink how they wouldn't be revamping the designs. They'd be sticking with the old designs.
Hmm.
Um, so I think what is that, 8 years later, 8 years down the road after two more movies, and they're finally going to be putting feathers on dinosaurs and launching that idea into the mainstream. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a massive win. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
yeah, you can bellyache all day about it's not accurate or there Giganotosaurus never would have encountered a T-Rex, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still instrumental to showing the lay folk what dinosaurs actually looked like. It's gonna spark this whole.
It's a little
I
supplement.
wouldn't be surprised if it sparked another like. This might be a little dramatic, but another like dinosaur revolution, dinosaur renaissance of some
Oh, yeah.
sort, where more people begin to understand what these things actually looked like.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Just the news
uh,
like outlets covering the intro to this. I have
yeah,
to say
yeah, there was.
my biggest complaint with it is the fact that Colin Trevorrow and all the people who are in charge are like, "Hey, we have a proper. This is what the Cretaceous looked like," and they're priding
Yeah,
themselves on how like almost flawless it is. And I'm like, "This is flawed to all heck," and this bothers me the most. But I'm,
yep.
you know,
I can see that, but I mean, it's a business.
it is a
They're like
business, but
it's a selling point. Um, they've heard the complaints from more like avid paleontological fans over the years, and they're like, okay, we're gonna satisfy that, and we're gonna sell this as the next big thing because they want this movie to land with everyone. So I get what they're doing. Yes, it's. I was just as disappointed. I was face palming, I was groaning, I was like, guys, you were so close to the finish line, and then you tripped. You
yeah,
tripped, and you have this Giganotosaurus fighting a T-Rex.
it's
You have an Oviraptor in the
eating
in the
eggs.
Hell Creek formation. Just make it an Anzu. Make it or
Yeah, I
get
was
rid of
literally just
Nasuda
gonna say that because
get rid of
if
Nasutoceratops, make it Triceratops. And this might be a spoiler. I mean, I don't know, but my instinct is telling me there's going to be some dramatic quote unquote through line where there's a rematch 65 million years in the making, and I'm just like, no,
yeah,
no, that is the stupidest. There's going to be like a
it's
moment of like recognition between the T-Rex, like if Rexy in present days sees the Giganotosaurus clone and like you, I'm
I know,
gonna
I'm
be
like,
like,
oh no, like just
I'll, I'll,
please.
I'll scream. I will
Like
scream.
I saw someone who had
Yeah,
a better idea if they wanted to do sort of this little rivalry story with the Giga and Rexy, which if executed correctly, I think could be just a fun idea. I don't think it's not necessary in the slightest for the film, but someone said, "All right, why don't you have like Rexy, maybe she's I don't know, has the motherly instinct like the T-Rex from the Lost World, and she takes in like some small theropod or something out in the wild. And what if the Giga like hunts it down and kills it in modern day? And then she like has this little bit of a I don't know, like a story arc or something with fighting it and taking it out later in the story. They're like, that would make more sense than if she just sees the Giga out. She's like, oh, it's that thing that killed my old version of myself from the Cretaceous period.
it's like in the Lost World where Ian Malcolm's like, don't you think when he'll see us, he'll be all like, you,
Yeah.
like when they're taking the baby T-Rex again.
Yeah.
um, oh man,
That's the thing
so
that's kind of fun about these movies, though, is because there's so many people who complain about them, and I'm like, yep, I recognize that they're flawed to heck, but I still adore all of them because it's just like the childhood thing you grow up with. And I'll
yeah,
sit down and I'll watch them on repeat and I'll have a ball, but I'm like, yeah, they've got problems. I'm not going to sit here and defend them to the end, but
there's gonna be kids like playing with a T-Rex and a Giganotosaurus toy after this movie comes out, just like rah rah rah, and it's gonna be like that
yep,
scene from Jurassic Park 3 with Alan Grant, and it's gonna be some dinosaur nerd sitting there watching this kid play and being all like, "Oh, actually, Charlie, those dinosaurs never would have fought each other. You see, Giganotosaurus was down in South America and T-Rex was in North America. They never would have met."
yeah,
It's kind of reminds me of, I get that vibe from this movie, and
oh
I
yeah,
do agree with you. Um, I can't hate any of these Jurassic films because yes, they bring out my inner child. Like Fallen Kingdom, God, I had such a hard time with that movie. I went and saw it. I left disappointed, but I think I still saw it in theaters two, maybe three more times after that.
Saw it
And I'm
twice,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, this is not a good movie at all. The script is not great. I thought the direction was good.
The direction and the
Bayona,
visuals were pretty good. The problem with Fallen Kingdom for me, because whenever I go to a Jurassic movie in theaters, I was more nervous about the first Jurassic World because it was a reboot, but I was just excited and I'm like, hey, dinosaurs are becoming cool again, like you said. Let's go. Let's just enjoy this for the kids. But I ended up really enjoying Jurassic World. I still really like it for what it is. But I think Fallen Kingdom, I went in, I'm like, all right, I'm shutting my mind off. I'm going in as toddler David, and I'm just going to enjoy this movie. And I had a ball with it when I watched it, but when I went the second time, I was like, And then I watched it again at home when I got it on DVD, and I'm just like, yeah, it feels like they had a lot of a lot of decent ideas for plot points.
different movies stitched
But
together.
yeah, and they stitched them all together and rushed it out because they were like, all right, we need to do all this, and it just became the awkward middle child of the Jurassic trilogy. And I
You
am,
didn't need the Indoraptor in that movie. If you took out the Indoraptor, it would be largely the same. You could replace the Indoraptor getting loose with just any general dinosaur getting
oh
loose, and
yeah,
it would have the exact same impact, same idea.
the Indoraptor is
So,
just to sell toys. As much as I enjoyed the design of the Indoraptor and the sound
yeah, and the
design and everything,
direction
I'm
with it,
like,
like when the
yeah,
lights go out and you see its silhouette darting around, I'm like, okay, this
yep,
is like a gothic horror film from my childhood with like the
oh
monster
yeah.
creeping through the shadows. Like
Like this would
I
have
ate
freaked
that
out
up.
my 5-year-old me when I watched
Yeah.
if I watched it. Now it
I
was,
would
yeah.
I think Bayona did a great job with the direction in that film. It was so much better than the script itself. So I
The
yeah, these
visuals were my
movies
favorite part, just because it was one of those movies you could pause it at almost any time, and it would look like, especially the Indoraptor. My favorite shot of the whole film, the Indoraptor on the roof with the moon. I'm just like,
oh
oh,
yeah,
that's concept art quality right there. Like I'm a sucker for just really good
they
cinematography.
they just like made like a key frame painting of that, and they're like, okay, animate that, throw that in there.
Oh
That's a winner.
yeah, yep.
Uh, but yeah, I think I was the opposite of you. Like I saw Jurassic World, and I'm like, I really loved that. I don't think you can sit through that
Oh, I
movie.
loved
You
it.
you,
Yeah.
you watch the climax at least, the climactic battle between Rexy, Blue, the Indominus Rex.
It's just everything that every Jurassic Park fan like wanted that they didn't know they wanted in that
Yeah, you
moment
can
was
hate
like
that movie. You can't not have a good time watching that fight scene. It's
yeah.
just impossible.
And I
So
think
I
like
saw Jurassic
execution
World.
wise, it's just a really solid execution for a story. I think Colin Trevorrow hit all the plot points down, and he had. I still stand by. I have a very unpopular opinion. I'm like I think Claire Dearing is one of the best Jurassic characters as far as like a character arc and having a
Yeah, it's
proper change of character because the rest of the characters throughout the franchise are kind of just like all right, we're here, we need to escape kind of deal. And there's some little things with character development going on sometimes, and especially the first Jurassic Park, there's Alan Grant with the kids and everything.
yeah,
But
that's
um,
like my quintessential character journey is
oh
Alan Grant.
yeah,
Anytime
Alan
people talk
Grant is
about a
good.
character journey, it's the most easily identified for me.
Hmm.
It's like it's I don't think
It's good.
Spielberg could have portrayed that any better. It's so easy to like latch onto and understand and relate to.
It's great.
And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and
Claire is the character that feels like she changes
oh
from
yeah,
within a movie and across movies. So I never read the book that like the evolution of Claire. I
I haven't
should.
either. I want to.
I'm wondering
I've
if there's
never
like a
read the
TV
Jurassic
too.
Park books myself. I need to
I read
watch
the
this.
first one. First one's a really good read. I never got around to The Lost World, although I kick myself constantly. But
Yeah.
I'm a slow reader, so
Oh,
if I
I
sit down
feel
and
it.
read a book, it's going to take me months to finish.
I remember there
So yeah.
was this old book series that I used to be in. I don't know if you've heard of it, The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, when I was younger.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I've heard of it.
yeah.
Never read it. Yeah, heard of it. It was everywhere.
Oh yeah, I was big into that, and a couple of my friends were reading it, and they blew through like all 15 books in like a couple months, and it took me like 2 years to get through all of them.
I used to be a fast reader. I think my brain cells peaked in high school or middle school, high school range, and then now it's just I like playing with dinosaurs. That's about all I can muster. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, to get back to the topic at hand, I saw Jurassic World, loved it, was blown away by it. Looking back, I can see its flaws, but in the moment, it just blew me away. It
Same.
made dinosaurs cool again. And so when Fallen Kingdom rolled around, there was a director attached to it that I respected. It looked like this big epic adventure. Obviously Carnotaurus showed up. I was screaming when I saw the trailer.
I don't know if you saw my trailer reaction to the first trailer for Fallen Kingdom, but my goodness, that was that was something else. Because Jurassic World didn't really throw many new species at us in the spotlight, and I think that was why Fallen Kingdom was such a big deal. Because it's like trailer Carnotaurus in your face right here. Because when Jurassic World trailer came out, it's like we're getting this hybrid, but I was still in the mindset of I want to see real dinosaurs. Like, what's the Jurassic's take on this species, Yeah.
One of my greatest regrets relating to Jurassic is I did not record myself when I watched that first trailer because, God, well, maybe for the best, it would have been embarrassing if people saw that it was bad. Anyhow, so Jurassic World blew me away. I see Fallen Kingdom. I'm hyped. I'm like the first one. I loved it. I'm going into this one with high expectations because it's the same creative team, but with an addition of a director that I appreciate. And so when I watched it, my soul just died a little that first time. There were still highlights like we talked about, but I can't bring myself to hate it. I'll still sit down and watch it if it's on, if I'm in the right mood.
I think a lot of my distaste for the film too comes from hearing stuff from the conceptual stage of the film's production that never made it into the film, or things that they cut or changed for the sake of just slamming all these different plot points together.
Would you have liked to see the Spino versus T-Rex rematch? That's the one thing that I remember hearing a lot about that was in the design stage. And
I am dying to see the Spinosaurus come back. Like, I don't even care if it's just like a cameo, but I just want to see it one more time just for my childhood's sake. But I'm so happy Colin or whoever made the decision to scrap that, because I'm like, you're just bringing back more controversy. There's one thing I don't want to see. I do not want to see a rematch between the two, because I already know what's going to happen. They're just going to have the T-Rex kill the Spino, and it's just going to start things over again. And I don't care who wins, but it's just going to start things up again. So
yeah, you know exactly what they're going to do, because apparently Colin in interviews has stated like one of the things Universal will not allow him to do is kill a T-Rex because of that backlash. So if they ever do rematch, it's like, there's
I didn't even hear about that. So they're just straight out not letting him.
Yeah, no, that's like one of his. That's like out of all the limitations you could and potentially should place on Colin Trevorrow, killing a T-Rex is like the one big thing.
Well, he did. The Giga did kill the Rex at the beginning of the Dominion thing.
That is true, but
I guess that's going to have a redemption thing,
like reviving it, quote unquote. But I'm wondering, they're building up this Giganotosaurus. Here's what I'm wondering, right?
Yeah.
They're building up this Giganotosaurus as the ultimate big bad of the franchise. Worse than the Indominus Rex. Worse than the Spinosaurus. It is the top villain.
Yep.
What if they end this film with the Spinosaurus T-Rex team up to take down the Giganotosaurus?
That was on my mind, actually, at one point. I'm like, part of me, just because of how much I loved the ending of the first Jurassic World, part of me, I'm like, if that's real, my inner child is kind of ready for this. I'm not going to lie, because I think that would be.
It's like they're gonna put this argument to bed. They're gonna say, all right, they're not fighting anymore. They're fighting together. This is our end game moment.
Yeah, there you go. Like, I could see that kind of being fun, but yeah, I'm in such a weird boat with Dominion right now. Like, because when I was a child, the biggest thing I wanted to see was the world that Dominion is building up to, with dinosaurs living amongst people. Because I'm like, this is what Ian Malcolm has been warning us about since the early '90s when that first movie came out, and I never thought this franchise would have seen the light of day again. So my inner child is just like, I'm so ready for Dominion, but at the same time, after Fallen Kingdom, I'm like, and seeing what they're doing with the introduction and what they're just kind of throwing paleontology out the window. Oh, and that's another thing. I keep like changing my train of thought here, but I I stand by the beginning of Dominion that they showed off, or the preview at least, being the biggest mistake that the franchise has ever made with the dinosaurs, just for the simple fact because the franchise has always had the excuse of the dinosaurs being man-made. And they're like, even Dr. Wu they threw a great line of dialogue for him in the first Jurassic World where he's like, all of these animals would look drastically different if we had their pure genome and everything, but that's not what you wanted, blah, blah, blah. And now that we're showing the Cretaceous period, even if it's just for a split second, I think it would have been so powerful for the paleontology community to actually show the Cretaceous period, like what it is right now. And like, you have the rest of the movie to have the merchandise selling dinosaurs. Like, you can have the Giga with the concavenator sail on its back. Do whatever you want. But, for the introduction, I think it would be great. It would be appeasing both sides of the spectrum. And I really like the idea, honestly, for opening, have the credits roll, throw some, directed by Colin Trevorrow up and just zoom around, show a Triceratops herd and an Anzu running around. That would have been great.
I wanted to see a big budget portrayal of the time of dinosaurs for years. Like the Walking with Dinosaurs did an amicable job, both the original series and even the 2013 dumpster fire of a reboot.
Visually, that one was stunning. It was stunning.
Man, what a waste! What a waste!
It's when someone asks me, it's like, what is the biggest waste of like a movie, or the biggest mistake you can think of in film? That's what my mind goes to, because I'm like, you had absolute gold.
Opening alone and just like go tear that film.
No, I will watch the Dominion opening 100 times before I'll watch Walking with Dinosaurs 2013 in its pure form.
Yeah, I mean, I love the visuals are so striking. The fights, like the Pachyrhinosaurus brawl in that film, breathtaking. I've seen like edited clips where there's no dialogue, just seeing these two bruisers just slam into each other, and their eyes are like rolled back to protect them. The flesh like ripples with the impact.
Yeah,
it's slow motion. It's at sunset. It's dramatic. It's gorgeous. It's awe-inspiring. Seeing the power, and then you've got these taunting voiceovers of like a big brother like teasing his little brother as they're trying to fight for dominance. I'm just like, shut up.
I know, and you could just tell that this dialogue was just copied and pasted really late into production over the whole thing. Like, some critic came in and they were just like, this is great, but we need to get the kids involved more. Let's get in these 3 people and just quick, one day, like, just make it up. We don't have a script, just throw it on there.
Yeah, I would have like accepted something like this. Might be a weird compare. If you ever saw the horse movie Spirit, with Matt Damon doing like a narration over the horse's actions.
If I did see it, it was when I was very young.
Like that. Yeah. I see. My obsession was dinosaurs when I was a kid. My little brother's was horses, so I saw that movie a lot.
Yeah. And one thing I'm dying. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, I would have accepted something like that. But yeah, I have been thirsting for a big budget look at a dinosaur world, and like something akin to like The Lion King, like the opening, the Circle of Life. Like, obviously not like a musical number, but like when you see this ecosystem, you see these animals interacting, and all that stuff. That is something I've wanted to see for years.
Oh
And
yeah.
Dominion had that opportunity, and yes, I do feel as if they, I haven't seen it, so I've seen like little screen grabs here and there,
Yeah.
and I know
I
all
saw
the
like a whole
discussion,
screen
but
grab
I
of
used to
it.
watch like a subpar pirated version. I never got to. I didn't want to shell out $10, $15 to go see an IMAX preview essentially.
Yep.
um, so I never saw it, but I know like what all is included in it. I've seen screen grabs and all that stuff, and it's just like, yeah, this does feel like wasted potential. And honestly, it
It
might
is
not be
visually
even
beautiful because I
Travar. Oh, I've seen. Yeah, it looks like it.
mm,
Looks like those
it's
old oil paintings and stuff. So I appreciate that. But like, it might not be entirely Trevorrow's fault, or what's his name, Steve. What's his group?
Steve Rusate, yeah, their advisor
Okay,
that they
yes.
had.
I know it's not his fault.
Oh yeah,
Anyone
I've
digging on
read some of
him,
his
he is
books.
the lowest on the rung for what goes on a film set. So it is not his fault. Um,
Yep.
but I'm wondering if some executives just like, no, don't change it too much from our aesthetics because we don't want to alienate the audiences who don't like feathered dinosaurs. So I'm sure there was a hefty battle that went on to just get them to look like this even.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
so
I think, yeah, because I think it was just when I first saw some of the leaked clips, I was mainly impressed, and then I started getting, a little more skeptical of it as time went on, and after reading how the directors, the producers, like were priding themselves on how accurate this was. But when I saw the Oviraptor, that was one of the first ones I saw. I was like, that is
yeah,
that is shocking. I mean, the wings are completely wrong, but that is shocking to me for a Jurassic dinosaur. Like it was just completely out of left field, and I heard the rumors of the feathered dinos and stuff, but part of me didn't totally believe it until it happened.
yeah,
And one thing I still am hoping for, because we've had some roster leaks for the 21st century dinosaurs that are going to be in the film, and there is a Pyro Raptor that keeps popping
yeah.
up.
That's the one we haven't seen a design for yet.
We've seen some plushies. It has like a big fancy like parrot crest like flipped onto the back of its head, and people are saying it's properly like big fluffy feathered and like bright red with blue markings on its face or whatever, based on people who have seen previews. So I'm waiting to see that one. That one could be like the best or most accurate dinosaur in the franchise. I mean, just based on what I've heard. And it might have a pretty big role in the film because it's getting an Amber Collection figure. There were some leaked Target listings for delayed figures. So we'll we'll see what happens. That might be pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it's as far as Dominion, I am very nervous for it, but I think the thing that I'm enjoying most about Jurassic right now is just the surrounding merchandise and all of the other media stuff that's just coming out, because it makes me happy walking into a store and just seeing like Jurassic next to the Marvel and DC stuff, like for a beach towel or whatever. That's something that I would see when I was a toddler, and I never thought I'd see it again, and there it is. And
Myself from buying that stuff. I'm like, I'll buy the toys, but I draw the line at buying a beach towel.
oh, I definitely didn't draw the line. I do now, but when 2015 came out, I'm like, that's a beach towel. I'm getting that. Oh, that's a
Oh,
T-shirt.
yeah, I have some blankets and throw pillows from Fallen Kingdom, but like, yeah, it's like now it's like, you better pump the brakes there, Chief.
Oh yeah. Um, right now, like my biggest thing is uh, Jurassic World Evolution. I'm not sure if you're big into games or whatever. I've been a gamer since I was very young, and Jurassic Park Operation Genesis was like my childhood. That old game. Play that for hours on end. My mom got it for me for Easter when I was little, and uh, and it just I played it so much it got boring. And then they had Jurassic World Evolution came out, and that was good, but you could tell Fallen Kingdom it was really had like a rocky, like weird production. Like Mattel did a great job with sending out the toys and doing the toys and stuff. But as far as the rest of the media, Evolution only had like I think it was a 13-month development cycle for the game. So when it was released, that's really short for a game.
Yeah.
So they like approached Frontier like, hey, can you make this AAA video game in 13 months? They're like, okay, we have 2 months for concepts and laying everything out, and then we have 11 months to lay this game out. And it was still really fun. And Frontier has built a lot of games that I played when I was little, but I felt like that wasn't great on Universal's part for approaching them with such a little development cycle ahead of time. But Jurassic World Evolution 2 is coming out now, and honestly, I'm way more excited for that than I am for Dominion, because they're just putting, oh my gosh, they're putting so much detail into that game. Like, the animals just, they feel alive in that game. And I guess my point with this was Frontier has been listening a lot too, and they've, of course, been under Universal's thumb for approval, but they took all the dinosaurs that are being transferred from the first game into the sequel, and they actually gave them non-pronated hands. So they're actually all like clapping now, which makes me happy as a nerd.
That's a big point. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Point of contention.
So I thought that was pretty great. And I even think the Carnotaurus like got updated so the little nubby arms are more horizontal, because in Fallen Kingdom, of course,
they have like a little elbow joint.
A little elbow joint. And they still have the elbow joint in the game, but they're like more hugging the body and back a little bit. And it's I'm happy just to see that some things in the franchise are just paying heed to this and just, giving us little bits and pieces of just like, hey, we care about this, I guess. But at the same time, it is Hollywood, so you can't put your faith into everything. But I do think they have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders that they need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky tightrope to walk. They're trying to balance two different audiences. They're trying to balance, well, I'd say maybe three. There'd be like a section of, there's like two minority sections where it's like the paleontology fans and the awesome bros.
Oh yeah.
And then in the middle are just like the general public. Where you see like the paleontology fan is like, no, you have to do it right. And then you see the awesome bros where it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people like feathers on dinosaurs. It's so ridiculous. They look so dumb. I don't want to go see a movie about feathered dinosaurs. It's going to be so lame. And then you have like the general audience that's just like, oh, look at that. I don't know how to feel about that. So
yeah.
They're trying to please everyone often results in pleasing no one. So I do not envy them this prospect, because this is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. It's their cash cow.
Oh yeah.
You have Disney that owns everything and can make money off of anything. Universal has like Jurassic Park / World, Fast and Furious. That's about it. I think they also have Harry Potter, but that's essentially dead in the water at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, when we get the Harry Potter reboot, though, everything else is getting these reboots.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they tried with Fantastic Beasts, and that just went nowhere.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
So,
I guess that proves your point. So.
So Jurassic is their big moneymaker. So they're trying to not lose loyal fan base, while also trying to entice those who have been decrying it for years for its disregard for paleontology. So it's a tricky.
I would not want to be in their position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that might be part of why the Dominion opening just became such a mixed bag of like, yes, it's accurate, no, it's not. So yeah, there's just so many factors that go into any film production, and let alone one of this caliber. I think I read an article where the producer was saying they were spending upwards of like $350,000 a day.
Oh,
that's a lot.
That's a lot of
balls in the air.
Yeah.
So they might have set out with this intention to be all like, we're going to make a 100% accurate, well, I don't believe there is such a thing, but a highly accurate depiction of the Cretaceous period, and then some executive stepped in and said, "No, we have to make some adjustments
Oh yeah.
to make sure we're getting as much bang for our buck." So
Yep.
yeah, it's a business at the end of the day. And whereas I personally would love to see a 100% accurate representation, I can understand
I think we need to look
how
to new
so many
outlets for
wires
that.
got crossed. You know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, well, I think we've talked about that for a while, and just looking at the time we've been
About an
recording,
hour on
I know
Jurassic.
about an hour on Jurassic there. So I have a couple more things that I wanted to like run you through. So I have this fun little kind of game or whatever that I think would be fun to do with you
Okay.
here. Because one thing that I always find interesting when I run into other dinosaur fans is figuring out their favorite creatures, their favorite genuses from specific groups. So I have 9 specific groups here, and I kind of want to run through them with you individually. Just very quickly, what your favorite genus is and why from each group. So first we have, what is your favorite Tyrannosaur and why?
I mean, obviously, Tyrannosaurus Rex would be
Can't
because
go
I'm
wrong.
basic.
There you go. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong with T-Rex, and this is another one of my unpopular opinions. I feel like the sort of not hate but like disregard for T-Rex is kind of just an edgelord thing. You know, it's like
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna pretend I don't like T-Rex so that I stand out from you. Like T-Rex, come on.
Yep.
T-Rex is like the ambassador of paleontology. It's the mascot of the dinosaur world.
It
And yeah, I get
The
it. It's
amount we know about it
oversaturated.
is amazing at this
Yeah,
point.
it's such an amazing creature. And like when I saw that statue, I was just breathless.
Oh yeah.
It just took the breath out of my lung. It was the most amazing thing I have ever seen. And I travel. I've seen a lot of great architecture, a lot of great natural what's the word I'm looking for? Parks, that sort of thing. But nothing put me in awe like seeing this 40-foot predator in an
Oh yeah.
accurate light. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I can appreciate other Tyrannosaurids, but T-Rex. Even if I said something else, it's a little ghost is on my shoulder. It's like
I
you're
feel it.
mine, and you know it. So no
There's
point standing on trying to BS her with that.
Oh yeah. I totally feel that. And even as someone who T-Rex is definitely up there for me, it's not my absolute favorite Tyrannosaurid, but it's just like there's something about as a model collector having a good T-Rex. Like when I got Wilson from PNSO, I'm
Yeah,
like, this is like a centerpiece for me now. I'm like, it's T-Rex, but it's just really
yeah.
good, you know?
And that's like Andrea and Logan. Um, oh, can I change my answer? My favorite Tyrannosaur is Nanotyrannus. Um,
Oh, be gone now. This isn't going on my channel.
uh, uh, like Andrea and Logan, those models have their problems, but it's like I can't not get them. They're T-Rex, and it's a family unit now. They look so great together. Well, they have their issues, but
Yeah.
like just seeing a trio of Rex on my shelf, it's a great sight. Um,
Mm.
but yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I think that's the other thing.
I can't
There
really.
is
I mean, if you saw my PNSO tier list video, I can't really sympathize with that. But
yeah, I did. You did my boy Schwanzi dirty in that one.
oh,
I was like, what? Come
I'm a
on.
lot of people
Uh,
are very upset with me for that one. But I'm like,
it's just your opinion.
yeah,
You can't. There's no accounting for taste and all that stuff. And if a model doesn't do it for you, it doesn't do it for you. No sense in um,
yeah.
getting upset at people who don't like the same things. But yeah, yeah, I get it. Those models are not without their flaws, but I do applaud PNSO for what they were going for.
I will say,
Um,
as a silhouette, the group
yeah,
is quite
yeah,
charming. It's when you get into the nitty gritty and
yeah. And
whatever.
I
That's
got
when
to
I'm
do
like,
like a full review of the group, like not one like
mm,
individual reviews. I'm just gonna like film the whole thing together.
Oh, there you
and
go.
just talk about like how it works and how it doesn't work. But like getting back to like the whole idea of T-Rex fatigue,
Mm.
yes, there are so many T-Rex models on the market. I mean, I like I finally like I took inventory of my collection the other day. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, I had so many T-Rexes and from so many different
And I have a
brands, so
lack
many
of
different.
T-Rexes.
I'm sitting at my desk right now. I've got three Jurassic Park Rexes in front of me. I've got the two Reborn Killer Queens and the Nanmu Alpha T-Rex, and then of course the Bull Rex is coming from them. Um,
Oh, I forgot about
so
that one. Yep.
yeah, so there are so many T-Rexes on the market, but there are almost none that are like decent scientific,
Yeah.
um, and precious few that are actually like, oh yeah, that's a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I like the Reborn Killer Queens, very good interpretation for the money, but they pale in comparison to Nanmu's two
Oh,
offerings. Um,
I was
so
really I'm in a boat where I'm just tired of seeing companies try to make JP Rexes or Velos because they're obviously inspired, but as a hardcore fan of the franchise for so many years, I'm like,
you can
it's
point
not
out
quite
like,
there. It's not
yep,
there yet. But then
uh,
Nanmu steps in and I saw their Spino and their Rex and I'm like, take my
that,
money now. Like I'm tired of this, but that's what I need. I didn't know I needed this, but give that to me.
yeah, you're like that's 100% the Rex from the films essentially. So even with the saturation, there's so few that are actually decent. Like Wilson, Andrea, they're the only two like they're the only two like up to date versions. I mean, you
Hmm.
had the Collecta Feathered Rexes, the Safari 2017. Those are great models, but they're not exactly 100% in vogue. The
Oh
the
yeah.
the, the 2018 one from Collecta is still feasible, but I don't
Okay.
feel it's
2017 Safari Rex got a lot of, I'm going to say, I don't want to say undeserved praise. That sounds too harsh
harsh.
on
Yeah,
it. Because I still praise that figure. I think it's a beautiful work of art and I still adore it. But people were basically like really simping over it because they're like, oh, it's the perfect T Rex. It's got feathers all over it. And I'm like, yeah, it's got feathers and that's great for the time. Now we think T Rex was scaly, of course. But on a more anatomical level, it had a lot of problems with the head. Not a lot of problems, but the head was basically just a Jurassic Park T
yeah,
Rex, and it had
it still
way too
feels
many
like
teeth in
Jurassic
its
Park.
mouth. Like if you look at any,
Yeah,
yeah, um,
I still see people praising that figure for its accuracy, and I'm like, am I the only one that feels like it looks like Rexy a bit? I don't know, with feathers.
yeah. Back in the day, everyone was praising that in the Velociraptor. The Velociraptor, I'm definitely more tolerant of the praise for because that is a beautiful little figure from them. But I was more into like I was really excited. I think my most hyped figure was the Coelophysis, and that's still one of my favorite safari figures of all time because I'm from Massachusetts and New England. We have Coelophysis tracks and fossils everywhere over here. We scientists around here have big ego and they try to give it its own name. It's called Pachyrhinosaurus Holyokensis, and I'm like, it's just a Coelophysis. Like, look at the bones. It's just a baby Coelophysis. They're like, well, it's smaller. And I'm like, no, the bones are. It's a juvenile. If you haven't looked at it, it's not fully grown. Anyway, regardless of that, I've been waiting for a good Coelophysis figure, so I was really excited for that one. And then the Giganotosaurus and the Chronosaurus blew me away, and those really stole the thunder for me from the rest of the figures that everyone else was excited for that year. But
That was a great year for Safari. I don't think they've topped that yet, in my opinion.
oh
Um,
yeah, it was great. But
uh,
anyway, if you don't mind us kind of scooting along here, because
yeah, I'm so
we have a
sorry.
lot of time.
I
Oh no,
talked
it's not you,
about
it's me as well. But favorite, what's your favorite Dromaeosaur and why? Just moving down the list.
that's a tougher one. Um, God dang. I'm going to say, oh shoot, I don't have a lot of Dromaeosaurs
Mm.
because again, like the Rex, it's a vastly untapped market. It's like
Yeah.
when you say Dromaeosaur, people instantly go to Velociraptor, and then of
Mm-hmm.
course it goes back to Jurassic Park. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm not that well versed in dromaeosaurs.
Mm.
I'm gonna be real with you. I do like the Beast of the Mesozoic line, but I never got into the Raptors, and if I had, I might have a better answer for you.
Yeah.
Um, but just for sake of moving things along, I'm gonna say Utah Raptor
Oh,
because
good choice.
it's massive. It's the roided up version of Velociraptor essentially. So it's like
It's kind of
yeah, it's
the
like
JP Raptor on steroids itself.
T-Rex. If you took T-Rex and mixed it with a Velociraptor, you'd get something in between with Utah Raptor. Is kind of like what I
Yeah,
feel like. So
that's a good choice.
awesome
That's my
creature to
favorite as
me.
well.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to look into more dromaeosaurs, I guess, because when you asked, my mind just went blank.
Yeah.
I've got Utah Raptor, Velociraptor, Deinonychus, Dakota Raptor. I know that one, but yeah, I don't know many dromaeosaurs, and I'm ashamed.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, we have the fan favorite Dromaeosaurus, and I know a lot of names, but as far as actually knowing about the animals, I feel like I don't know a ton about them. Uh, but if I had to pick a really obscure favorite, just for you mentioned BOTM, I think Linoraptor exequitus, just because I adore that figure. I'm a huge bird nerd myself, and just seeing it based off of that bird, which I forget its name, but I've always loved the colors of that bird for a long time. I know I call myself a bird nerd, and then I forget the name of it. I'm sitting here, but yeah, Linoraptor is another one of my favorites. But anyway, what is your favorite Spinosaur? If you had to pick one,
Spinosaurus, that's for sure.
there you go.
Uh, I would probably go with Spinosaurus in that department, and I think a lot of that has to do with the recent findings.
Oh yeah.
Back when it was just kind of your generic theropod with a sail on its back, less
Hmm.
so. But like the more we find out about its actual appearance, the more fascinating it becomes to me. Spinosaurus is a dinosaur trying to become a fish, and if that is not cool to you, you and I got nothing to say to each other. You know?
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny though. It's like every time we learn something new about it, we keep getting different pieces of the puzzle. It seems like the waters just keep getting muddied again with it, and there's all this controversy in the
yeah,
community.
it's
I'm
like
like, all right, let's reset. Let's wait till we find more material now, because we had was like, oh, fully aquatic, it had a fishtail, and then people start challenging it again. It's like, all right, let's put that on the clothesline. Let's hang it up to dry and wait till we find more bones to figure out what's going on.
there are dinosaurs that we're like, pretty certain on,
Oh yeah,
but like with Spinosaurus, the fact that it's constantly changing and getting more and more interesting with each change, I think that's part of its inherent appeal. And plus, it was just the biggest carnivore to ever walk the land.
and
It,
potentially the weirdest of like the
yeah.
biggest ones.
So it has that sort of wow factor going for it. So there's that too. I feel
For
like I'm
sure.
defaulting to the big bads of the groups. I got
Oh,
T-Rex and I got Utah Raptor and then I got Spinosaurus.
yeah. I mean, Spinosaurus. I mean, if you didn't pick that, then there would be problems here with me. So, all right.
What was the one that was like fragmentary? Was it South America?
Oh, Irritator was that? Yeah.
Or the one that's basically just another Spinosaurus essentially.
Oh, Sigilmassasaurus.
Yeah,
That one. Yeah.
something like that. As long as
Yeah.
it's not Spinosaurus.
There you go. All right. Pterosaur. You got a favorite
Oh,
pterosaur?
um, guy, another group that I'm sort of Quetzalcoatlus, the big one.
There you go.
No, that's a contender because it is, you always take those awesome photos on you equate it to the Reaper, which I
Oh
think is
yeah.
just a very cool idea. Um,
Yeah. It's I mean.
the one with like the super big head crest I've always been fascinated with. I think it starts with an N.
Oh,
Um,
Nyctosaurus.
yeah, that yes.
Yeah.
That's
That one's
definitely
cool.
been one that I've been fascinated with just because of that equipment on its head. Um, and then the one with the sort of the filtration in its beak.
Oh,
Um,
Pterodostro. Yep. The
yeah,
living toothbrush.
yeah. So as you can see, I'm not very good with the names of pterosaurs. But those are certainly two contenders for favorites. And then the little like frog bat looking thing, I think is
Oh,
um,
there's a few of those. You got Inurognathus, J-Holopterus, those little dudes with the wide mouths.
yeah, yeah.
Pterosaurs are such a cool
Stegosaurus.
group, and you know,
Yeah. There's
I
so many great choices.
people ask me sometimes like, "What do you want to see from BOTM next?" I'm like, "Make a pterosaur series." Like, how cool would that be if you could figure out a way for
Kind of
them to be?
appreciate his dragon
Yeah,
interest too.
that would just be awesome. Like, I would buy a lot of those. Pterosaurs consistently might be, as a family group, might be like my favorite thing, or as a group as a whole. Just there's so much diversity there, and they were just so cool. But anyway, Hadrosaur. If you had to pick a favorite
I
of
just
them.
Tyrannosaurus would definitely be in the running.
Oh,
Um,
good choice.
I think that's a really cool creature that's sorely unrepresented into model form. Um,
It's so cool too because
there,
a lot of hadrosaurs uh, evolved really crazy headdresses for display, but then
yeah, that
Tyrannosaurus
was
is like,
fun.
no, screw you. I've got a big fin on my back.
I'm gonna be a camel.
I'm gonna be a camel.
Um, but so that would definitely be in the running. I would also, I have to give nostalgia to Parasaurolophus. It's one of my all-time
Oh yeah,
favorite dinosaurs. Um, so
good
those
old
two would
pair.
definitely be my go-to. Tyrannosaurus just because of how unique it is. Parasaurolophus because it is the crested dinosaur.
Yeah.
Um, and I I love it I love the older depictions of it. But I also love the modern like fatter idea.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
My chunky Parasaurolophus, I love it.
It's
So
just
yeah, those
a
two.
consistent trend for most dinosaurs now. It's just like
They're just
make them
getting
thick.
fatter and
Yeah.
fatter.
All right. Sauropod.
Sauropod, Amargasaurus or Bahatosaurus.
Good choice. So you've got Amargasaurus, then you've got Uno reverse card.
It's like he sneezed really hard and just everything flipped forward.
Yeah. One of my favorite
um,
paleontology memes of all time was, I forget, it was like it was one of those clickbait titles where one of the news sources didn't know what they were talking about, and someone just showed a Margosaurus and it said breathes in, and then it showed Bahatosaurus, and it's like, boy, with the spikes just blowing forwards. That's great.
yeah, I think those are cool animal. I wish Bahatosaurus was a more like complete specimen what they found.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think like their constructions based on what they have, it looks really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it is
it's
really
just
cool.
it's such a metal evolutionary tactic. Oh, we can't get big. Let's get spikes.
Yeah. Or even, it's crazy too,
We got to
like,
contend with the big theropods running around. We got to do something.
oh yeah, and even if those spikes like weren't used in defense necessarily, it's just crazy that you know evolution would just come up with this thing where it's like,
Yeah,
or for display, let's just look as unique as we can. Massive spikes on our neck, just pointing forwards, will look like
that's
nothing
the other
else.
thing about them. No matter how you recreate them in paleo art, they still look awesome. Like I know there's like debates. The largely accepted truth is that they didn't have the spinal tissue connecting them.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah,
like with that, looks awesome. Without, looks awesome.
I am still partial to my Amargasaurus with the fins on the back of their neck from my childhood.
Yeah, it's a cool image. And sometimes you can latch onto those ideas. I think that's another important conversation to have. It's like your ability to recognize what is inaccurate now, but like you can. There's no reason to not be able to appreciate it because
Yeah,
every single iteration of a dinosaur has helped lead to our current understanding.
it's
So
history. Like it's no
yeah,
different than people who are like, oh, I want figures of the Retrosaurs. Like, Reborn
Yeah,
just came out with a line of the huge Allosaurus, like, on its tail or whatever, with the
oh my
flat
gosh,
head.
I am so excited for that line. That is what Rebor needs to do more. Like they're being pushed out of their old niche. But if they keep doing these sort of very unique offerings like the Retrosaur line or the oddities or things like that, I think they could definitely find their market there because those are items that are very important to paleontological history and fans of the franchise. Valley of Gwangi is a movie I didn't mention. I
Mm-hmm.
loved the Harryhausen films growing up. I still do. Um,
Mm.
so to have a figure that looks like that dinosaur from that movie,
Yeah.
it's a dream come true. Even if, yeah, it's not accurate, but it was accurate. It's what people accepted dinosaurs to be at a time.
Yeah.
It's all part of our understanding. I think we need to learn to appreciate ideas that are not on both sides of the coin. People who are just saying no, it has to be 100% accurate to what we know, or no, I'm not willing to let go of my outdated image. You have to be willing to make that sort of
Mm-hmm.
conceit. You have to be able to say, I recognize that this is still important, but I appreciate this now.
Yeah, I
Um,
totally agree. It's like walking a tightrope uh, when you're a dinosaur fan who's in like the same boat as you and I, because I think we see eye to eye and we're in a similar situation where, we really appreciate and we love the accurate stuff, but when you see a good pop culture dinosaur that's just really cool or whatever, it's just like, yeah, whatever. But at the same time, you also have to you've got to feel for the general public because they're going to look at that and they're like, oh, that's what it looked like, because they don't have the uh, education, I guess, that we have for understanding the animals more. But
my education is people yelling at each other in Facebook groups.
I'm probably like a good 30% of mine is that as well. I'm not going to lie.
But yeah, like my most anticipated figure of the year was Rebor's Carnotaurus Rex, bar none. Like PNSO has been
Oh,
releasing so many great things, but that Carnotaurus, that Disney's dinosaur Carnotaurus, to finally have a model of that,
hmm.
childhood dream come true.
Yeah,
I know it's not accurate, but I
it
still
looks really
adore it.
cool.
Yeah, I still adore it, and I'll gladly display it next to Collecta's or Safari's or Carnegie's offering, because it was an image of that animal at a time.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and anyway, cooking along here, you have a favorite ceratopsian you could
Oh,
share with?
that's a really hard one, because it's like the
Oh, because
pterosaurs of
you just got the
humanity.
BOTM ceratopsian series come out. I know you've got a ton of those, so.
Yeah, that is a huge problem.
Yeah.
I started with the Psittacosaurus, and I was like, kind of cool. Might get one more. Got the Zuniceratops.
Mm-hmm.
Fell in love with it.
Oh
So
yeah.
much fun posing that thing. It's still to me one of the best articulated in the line. Like it's like got some of the best joints in my eyes.
Oh,
Maybe just luck of the draw. I don't know.
but
But
the
I'm like
size is so
this line.
satisfying too. Just to
Oh
move
god,
around.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's this line is awesome.
it
So
is. It's
then
awesome.
so now I'm down a rabbit hole, and I've got there's wave three of that coming out, which has a couple of my most anticipated figures. But of course, it's coinciding with the Kickstart campaign of the Tyrannosaur series.
Yeah. That's
So
why
it's
I
like,
made my
oh,
video. I'm like, maybe David
yeah,
Silver will see this because
exactly.
I got some comments too on that. They're like, "Oh, that's more of a you problem, Don't ruin the fun for all of us." I'm like, it's not though. If you're like on social media, literally everyone is like, "I've got to forego getting the Series 3 stuff from the Ceratopsians because I want to support the Tyrannosaurs." So,
Thankfully,
uh,
there's been a delay with the third wave of the
yeah, I
Ceratopsians.
think it's
Now
coming
they're
out in
in
November.
October, November, yeah. So I'm like, dude, that is the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah,
um,
honestly.
but yeah, I fell in love with that line. I'm gonna have to do like a top five for you, because I can't
Oh,
choose
go
a
for it.
Ceratopsian. I think Cosmoceratops is
Hmm.
definitely would probably be contender for my favorite. The
Good choice.
ornamentation is amazing. It
Yeah.
is painfully unrepresented. There's the Beast of the Mesozoic one, and there is the Collector one, which looks awful. in my eyes.
Oh yeah.
um, so glad to have the Beast of the Mesozoic one. Really want other brands to tackle that one.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely got to give a shout out to Ankylosaurus, the
Oh
buffalo
yeah.
lizard. Love that curved horn. Beautiful, beautiful.
One of my favorite ceratopsies.
Pachyrhinosaurus.
Oh, there's
What a
my favorite.
bruiser. Absolutely love Pachyrhinosaurus. So that beast of the back before I was like super into this line, when he was posting all of his images of his work on the ceratopsians, I'm like, if I had to get, I might get one or two or three of those. And the first one that instantly grabbed me was that Pachyrhinosaurus. Now that I have it, it's easily my favorite of
Oh yeah.
the line so far. I don't know if anything in Wave 3 is even going to top it, to be
Yeah.
honest. Um,
Pachyrhinosaurus is, oh my gosh, it's incredible. Like
it's such a
it was
big,
such an
and
experience. I know it was such an experience unboxing that one too, because I'm also friends with Kikizilla 101, Bioniclesaurus, and Dino Man. I don't know if you know Kiki and Dino Man who have floated in the community, but we all got the Packy, so we all jumped in a group call at the same time and like opened it together one
that's
night,
great.
and all of us were just silent when we pulled that thing out of its box. We were like, this is another level of just totally different, but just breathtakingly incredible. Like this is a work of art. It is huge. It's so heavy. It's just such a great representation of the animal as a whole. It's amazing. And what was I gonna say in regards to it? Oh, we have this like friend group kind of in joke where we name all of our BOTM figures just because we love them
Yeah,
all
by
so
all
much.
means, definitely.
Yeah, so I named my Pachyrhinosaurus Legion after, I don't know if you know the game Titanfall, but there's this huge like brute titan named Legion who has like a huge Gatling gun, and I'm like, he's really slow and he's like all boxy, and I'm like, that's Legion. That's my Legion of the Ceratopsians right there. So
My names are a little less creative. He's just boss to me, big boss, and I think that's what
I
Dan
like that.
called in his Instagram post. And I'm just like, that fits. That's a fitting name. I'm not gonna give him any other. He's just big boss. And then like the other ones, like the Cosmoceratops, is just Cosmo. So
Yeah.
I won't say I'm the most original at naming my dinosaur figures, but you know.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah, if I
works.
ever came down off this Beast of the Mesozoic high and ended up just parting with a majority of them, the Pachyrhinosaurus would definitely be one that I hold on to.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't see myself ever coming down from this high because, yeah, there are so many figures from the first two waves that I'm like, I'm not too interested, too keen on those. But then I ordered them anyway because I have no self control. And then I get them and I'm like, why did I sleep on this? Like the Chasmosaurus? Like, at
Hmm.
first I'm like, I would never get that figure. That
Yeah,
seems
same.
too obnoxious for me. And I
Yeah,
get it. It's one of my favorites. That
it's
head
great.
is so striking. The
The Medu-
posability is so much
like
fun.
the Casmo was in that boat where I was like, I don't like that. I can see how some people would like that, but that's not my cup of tea. Would never get it. Friends started getting it, saw like pictures and stuff, ended up getting it on the sale for 4th of July this year. I'm in
Yeah,
love
yeah,
with
me
that
too.
thing.
Me too.
And the Medusa Ceratops
Yeah,
is
that's
one
another
case.
beautiful one.
I hated that thing with a passion. All my friends in my friend group on Discord were like simping over it, and I'm like, "What? It's a mess. The colors are a mess. It's this saturated purple, yellow, orange thing. I don't understand the appeal for this." And then my friend Aiden Kiki, he actually flew out, and we flew together to go visit Bioniclesaurus and Dino Man a few weeks ago in Washington, and he brought the Medusa with him. As soon as he pulled it out of his backpack to show me when he got to my house, I fell in love with it. Like, it's such a different experience getting something in hand, and I'm like, with the Tyrannosaur series, I am not judging a figure until I see it in hand and get to experience it,
Yeah.
because the Medusa is my favorite right now. It took such a
Uh,
turn.
um, I would say if I had to pick like two, maybe three that didn't like land, that I initially was like not interested in, and then I got them, and I'm like, okay, they're cool, but yeah, I would say the Protoceratops to me has the most lackluster paint job. It looks like something I would have colored in kindergarten, to be honest.
Yeah, I did
Like
see
these
that
other
one. I didn't like that one either. definitely better in hand and a lot of fun to pose, but it's not one I'd buy, if I'm being honest.
And I got it secondhand, like from another collector who didn't want it anymore, so I didn't pay full price for it, and I
Oh, there you go.
wouldn't.
Honestly,
So
I do that with any BOTM thing. If they're like, here, half price, I'll take it.
yeah, exactly. The Diablo Ceratops, mixed bag. I like it, don't love it. It's the only Diablo in my collection right now, so that's I'm partial to keeping it. And then Ceratops, decent, not my favorite, but I do like the palette, but execution-wise, eh. And then this might be an unpopular opinion. The Styracosaurus does not. The paint job on that one does not do it. It's just too much.
Interesting.
There's too much going on, and I don't know if it entirely marries all of its elements. The one thing that I don't like about it is the red feet. That's the thing that really makes it fall, because it looks like it's wearing blue pajamas. Because it's got the red head, and then it's got a blue body but red feet, and I'm like, okay, it looks like it's wearing blue pajamas.
I guess I can kind of see that. My unpopular opinion with the Ceratopsian series, everyone I talk to kind of like makes fun of me for this, but I despise the Wendyceratops.
And that's fair. It's a lot of disparate colors.
Yeah.
But it's a very rich palette, so I found myself.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's one of the ones with all the other Ceratopsians. I'm like, I can see how someone could like this, but with the Wendy, I don't know what it is. It's like a McDonald's advertisement to me. It looks like a bunch of condiments, and then the head sculpt in hands, the horns tend to have a lot of asymmetry going on in weird ways from what I've seen. So I'm a little kind of, even though I do like personality with horns on Ceratopsians and other things, but just some of the warping on the horns in that one looked a little strange to me. So that's like one for sure I know I wouldn't like buy, even if it was on sale. I'm just like, I don't want that one.
So do you have any must-haves from the upcoming T-Rex line, Tyrannosaur line?
Oh, my second favorite dinosaur of all time is Guanlong. So that is day one pickup. The Walking with Dinosaurs T-Rex Kickstarter exclusive is going in there. The Tarbosaurus and the Eutyrannus, and then probably the Albertosaurus as well. I'm waiting to see that one painted.
Yeah, I can't believe he's launching this Kickstarter. I didn't really follow the first one. I don't know exactly how it worked, but I feel like I saw all of the products before the Kickstarter launched. Or am I wrong in that?
No, so he starts with like a mini wave that you can back them as they're being made. So when the Ceratopsian Kickstarter came around, he had the Zuni, the Monoclonius exclusive, and the subadult Triceratops ready. And he had all the concept art. And then as he was making them, he's like, all right, now the Diablo's done. It's unlocked as a tier, so you could switch which ones you backed that would be sent to you when you're done.
Got it.
So that's the way it's going to work.
I'm still waiting to see so many of these Tyrannosaurs, it feels like, but the Kickstarter's coming up, and it's just like, well, how much am I going to want to kick into this, you know?
He normally starts with like 3 of them, so the Kickstarter T-Rex is definitely going to be one of them, I'm sure. And then probably the Bastagyaversur as well, because that was one of the first ones he finished.
Yeah, and that one's a must for me. I was
I forgot about that one. Yeah, I need that one too.
I was just down in New Mexico and I saw that thing. Well, I saw casts of its skull. They had like a robot in the foyer area, a robotic. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, so I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna call her Bishti Beast because I think that's what they called it down there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so I'm just like, I have seen this animal now, or at least a version of it. So now I have to have a model of it. Plus, to get back to my list, Pentaceratops is definitely in my top 5 ceratopsians.
Oh, there you go. And that's a perfect pair up.
Pentaceratops to go. I gotta have a Bishtavianator, whatever.
Yeah.
I learned to pronounce the name first. I gotta have that to go with my Pentaceratops.
Yeah.
Which I will get from the third wave of ceratopsians.
There you go. Well, actually, speaking of the list, we're like scooting right along. We're kind of over my par time for the episode here, so why don't we do it? Yeah. Oh no problem. Like I've been having a ball talking, and we'll definitely have you back at some point in the future. But speed round for the last two, Stegosaur and Ankylosaur. What are your favorites for both of those?
Stegosaur. I mean, I gotta give it to Stegosaurus.
Honestly, Stegosaurus is probably
It's
the
so
most
basic.
unique from the series, from the group as well. Because when you look at a lot of Stegosaurids, they're mostly spikes. Stegosaurus is all plates.
Yeah. And that's again another animal that as it changes, the more I become fascinated with it, the more beautiful it gets to me, the more gracile. I'll
Oh
also
yeah.
give a shout out to Miragaia, and part of that is because of PNSO's release.
Oh
That
yeah.
interpretation of that animal was just breathtaking.
It
Um,
is.
so that's definitely a contender.
Mhm.
But yeah, Stegosaurus, I just think the more we learn about it, the more we rearrange it, the cooler it gets.
For sure.
So, yep. And Ankylosaurs, ooh, ah, it's another
Mhm.
group that I don't know much about. Um, I gotta give like a shout out to Pelta. Um,
Oh, that's my favorite. Good choice.
it's because it's one of the best preserved dinosaurs ever.
Yeah. It-
So that gives me an instant appreciation for it. Um, and yeah, I think if I had to just land on one, it'd be that ginger boy. I
Goodness.
just appreciate the fact that it's a miracle that something that great was found, and because of that,
Yeah,
I'm fascinated with it.
it
Um,
is. It's amazing. But yeah, so I did have notes down. I wanted to do like some Safari 2022 predictions with you because we did kind of do some overlap with our videos last year where we
just
mentioned each
take my
other.
list from last year
Yeah.
and move it. I'm gonna give them a mulligan year, because it's like everything was so nuts.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that their production was so limited. But now that things have sort of gotten back on track, more or less,
Mhm.
I can see them pulling out all the stops and trying to do more with 2022. So,
Yeah.
I rewatched that because you mentioned it. I rewatched
Well,
that video.
I will plug that
Sauropod,
video. If I remember, I'll put it in a card so you can go check out his video. So you can go
oh
see
yeah,
his predictions. Um,
Sauropod, Ceratopsian, Cryolophosaurus. Um,
mhm.
I would be surprised if they didn't. This wasn't the year for Centrosaurus, personally, for Ceratopsians.
Yeah,
So,
Centrosaurus would be
um,
great. Actually,
but
just
yeah,
to rattle off like my top picks that I'd like to see from them: Torvosaurus, Gigant Spinosaurus, because they desperately need more Stegosaurs, and I want another good figure of that one. Laelinosaura, because I think we need more smaller
oh
nithopods.
yeah,
Um, and
loving all our yesterdays.
yeah, and then Forest
Loving that
Rocco's
model, just
or
the cotton ball with the long tail.
yeah, there you go. And then Forest Rocco's or Kalenkin, because I am a simp for terror birds, and we need more figures of them. um,
But yeah,
yeah. So anyway, I think unless you had anything else you wanted to add quickly, we'll start wrapping things up here.
we got to do something someday where we discuss Papo.
Yep,
We
yep.
we've been talking about that on and off for months now.
Well then,
And
maybe
I
we'll
still,
get you back for another episode
yeah,
some point in the future, and we'll do that. Some Papo
yeah, for
stuff,
sure.
some more company talk would be good. But anyway, but thank you so much for joining us for the or joining me for the pilot today. It was a
Oh,
pleasure.
yeah, thanks
Um,
for having me.
yeah, his channel KillerShrewFan once again, and his name's Hayden. Put links to all of his stuff, all the socials in the description and in the video card or whatever. Also on the end screen, I'll put your channel up so people can go check it out. And thank you everyone for watching or listening to if you made it all the way through for this episode of SpinoCast. And once again, these are going to be few and far in between. Just as I get topic ideas and guests that I want to bring on, then we'll just sit down and have fun little conversations like this, or fun big conversations like this. Because it went on for a long time.
You
But
got to find someone who's a little less verbose about this stuff.
no, but I had a great time. Thank you again, and well, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Take care, and bye bye.